Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. Electrifying!
Yes, guys, welcome back to the Cannon podcast. How are you? I hope you're doing fantastically well. On, for many of you listening to this, Game Day, Carabao Cup semi-final, episode 2 against Chelsea, against Mr. LinkedIn himself. We'll be talking about all of that. Of course, the transfer window has just slammed shut. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking Leeds. We'll be talking Rodri. And we'll, of course, be taking your questions with the beautiful, the sexy, the radiant, the rambunctious George Voutsas and Rohan Jivan.
Hello, quite the introduction.
Let's all sing along. The Arsenal boys are on a bender. Thomas Frank is a silver member.
Any more?
No. I'll start
you, buddy.
We're just watching you, mate. Welcome back to the Cannon podcast. I hope you're all doing well. Wait. We just signed Oxlade-Chamberlain?
What?
No.
Sorry?
What?
So we're recording this at the end of the transfer window. No, we haven't. No, we haven't. I'm joking.
Oh, for God's sake. I genuinely was going to lose it there. I was genuinely going to lose it.
I feel like I 50% got George, but 100% got you.
I've got the glasses on, mate. I've got the glasses on.
The glasses went back on. We are recording just as the transfer window has slammed shut. So we're going to start there. We're going to talk all about the Carabao Cup, etc. Boys, how are we feeling about that transfer window where Arsenal, I don't want to say did nothing, because we did do something. We got rid of Waneri. Not a nice way of saying it. We got Waneri out on loan. I was going to say got rid of Marino as well, but that was an injury one. We'll come back to that. We did sign Jaden Dixon and Mr. Mooney, who we'll come back to in a minute. I'll start with this. I'm feeling a little bit like I understand why we didn't move for anyone, and I think we'll be okay. But the panicked part of my brain would have liked a 6-8. Is that fair, Rohan?
I think, yeah. I mean, we said it in the summer, right? If there was one position, well, certainly for me, if there's one position that I was a little bit worried about is our contingency plan in the event of a Declan Rice injury. You know, I'm looking at Declan Rice as he's our player of the season, hands down, no debate for me whatsoever. You know, his consistency has been ridiculous, and it's on the back of last season as well. But I've always, at least once a day, I worry about a Declan Rice injury and the ripple effects that can create.
Mine's 5 times a day. That's good.
Mine's 10, actually.
Well, I'm a better fan than you.
But so that's always in the back of my head. But then when I look at the squad, and you know what I'm like, boys, in terms of our squad and the size of it and how it does stress me out. I feel like I'm good, to be honest, in terms of the volume and the players that we have at our disposal. But we probably will get into it, though. The player that has been linked to us today is basically a Rice contingency, but you've got to pay a ridiculous amount of money for it. So
yes. Yeah, look, I wasn't anticipating us to do anything in January. So, as the window closes, I'm not sort of sat here really, really disappointed. I think because of the Marino injury, it's making me more concerned. That's 2,000 minutes that he's played so far this season in multiple roles, and we have to accept that it's not just Marino in quotes. That is a really seriously important squad player, and Mikel Arteta has said that. So it does create it certainly creates an opportunity for other players to step up. Look, I don't think we're ever going to go and spend £100 million in January on Sandro Tonali, which is probably what it would have cost. George, you're going to tell me how silly I shouldn't be worried and everything's going to be fine. Go on, tell me.
I don't know about not being worried, because I do maintain I was with you guys in terms of wanting my 6'8" backup to be more athletic. And then when I saw Norgard, as far as the purchase goes, I go, look, it will make sense if you use him. If I'm looking at it from an elder statesman's perspective, that is Brentford's captain that will actually be used. And when we talk about the Marino aspect of the squad, I would push back on him being a 6'8" option. I don't like him in that areas, and I think when he's played deeper roles, especially with the play ahead of him, I don't think he's been as good. I mean, he's definitely been a versatile squad option that I think has been a much better striking option than he has anything else in the squad when he does play, and he has versatility to multiple roles. So I don't think it's it's a Swiss Army knife that we miss. But as far as the specific usage at 6'8", I mean, for me, the question mark becomes a lot more in Norgard, becomes a lot more in playing Miles Lewis-Skelly. And those were the people that I would have looked to as opposed to a Mikel Merino to fill the gap in that role. And, I like the Sandro Tonali profile in ways. I think I prefer a prospect and a younger one, because when I look at that collection of a pivot, it's like a prime age pivot right now with Zubimendi and Rice. And for me, I'm looking at a compliment to Miles in the pivot in terms of who I would like. And, I think that we should go younger in that 6-8, depending on who your flavor of the month is. I've mentioned Igume. We've talked about Buadi as far as a scouted, both players that I think I really, really like, and in the exact profile that I think we need from a legs perspective. But if the fears are legs, I don't know if Marino's the answer to legs in a 6-8 role. So I'm kind of caught in two minds, because I really do think Kai Havertz being back takes care of the midfield 10 flexibility of it, reduces that load. But I mean, is Kai your only option there at this point in the squad? Yes. So I don't think Mikel Merino's an injury where I'm like, there is no issue. But I think the worry on the sixth fear, I almost wouldn't have attributed to Mikel Merino leaving. So I think him leaving, for me, has more questions with, okay, well, what happens if Kai's out? Who's our reference? Who are we going to be able to go long to and over the top to and have more of a box presence to? Like, Mikel Merino was a backup to Kai, not being able to provide that role to me in the squad. I didn't necessarily look at him as a 6-8 leg replacement in total.
Until we get Christian Neingard, and that is going to happen. Look, I think that's well said, and I think ultimately you look at the squad, and you're right. With Havertz coming back in, there's some of that cover there. It's just, for me, it's a bit of a shame, and that doesn't mean it's necessarily the wrong decision, because ultimately, what was I asking for? I was asking to find a versatile player on the market who's at the level of what we need to do, which is, to be clear, is compete across all four fronts and try and win a Premier League and a Champions League. I'm asking for quite a lot within the space of a couple of days to be all sort. It's a very, very hard thing to ask in the market, and so I understand why we haven't done it. It just feels to me a little bit like a stone we maybe haven't turned over in this title charge. I don't think it will be pivotal, to be honest, because I think if it all falls down on us not having Mikel Merino, I think that maybe it wasn't built well in the first place. No disrespect to Mikel Merino at all. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of who's going to get the opportunities here, Rohan, obviously we've spoken about Kai Havertz, and this is maybe one of my issues, is that we're looking at the names that I imagine you're about to talk about, are Miles and Max and Norgard, etc., who all sort of have question marks about them, and that's one of my small regrets about this. But who do you see as sort of the biggest winner out of no signing and Marino's unfortunate injury?
So I'd say it's obviously Miles, but at the same time, we don't necessarily have a sample size to really say it's Miles as well, because we've not seen him in midfield. So it's kind of like there's two thoughts there. From what Mikel said recently in his pre-match press conference for tonight's game, You'd think that Miles would certainly be getting more opportunities there, especially with, when we look at the pecking order for left back, it's clearly Calafiori first choice and then Nkapie second choice. So I think that door is open for Miles in the same way in which that door was open for Miles to stamp his authority last season with the injuries that we had at left back. This could be, certainly a sliding doors moment for him. I also think when we look at Mikel Merino, it's so annoying that he's picked up this injury, because I think he's a player in which the fan base has grown to love. I don't think people necessarily were too keen on the idea of Mikel Merino last season, me included, with big question marks in the first half of the season. And certainly, with the injury that we got to Kai Havertz, and then just in general our forward line being depleted, it opened up the pathway for Merino as a number 9, then the impact that he had there. But in general, I think Mikel Merino, his ability to be clutch, that is such a valuable asset to have in the squad. I mean, the goals that he scored this season, we've spoken about it before, where it's like, when I look at a player and he scored 5, 6 or 7 goals, but if those goals are happening in game states in which the game's already done, I don't really value those goals as much as someone like a Mikel Merino, who when he scores, it's a vital goal. It's happening in a pressured moment. And I think that for me is something that we're going to really miss. In terms of his impact, though, in the final third, this might be maybe a crazy shout, but I think Christian Norgard generally could give us an impact in those situations in the box, especially in set-piece scenarios. This is someone at Bournemouth. Menanga. Not necessarily in terms of nominally starting up
arriving
there.
late and stuff like that.
Arriving late in terms of, if you look at in pre-season when we played against Villarreal, he scored in that game. He was a nuisance in the game against Portsmouth, I believe. He really has a knack of being able to find space in those areas. And against Arsenal, when he was at Brentford, he scored 2 goals against us. And it's something that I certainly looked at as, when I looked at transferable qualities, Norgard in those situations with the volume of set pieces that we do get, because we do love to prioritise the wing play, I think that is a threat that we certainly can use more. I think not only is it being annoying to not see Norgard more in terms of managing the workload of certain players, but I also think he can offer things in terms of output in the box. So yeah.
No, I hear that. I think that's valid. I do think also Max's name should be thrown in here. I can't believe more hasn't been made of what Mikel said about him the other day.
Mate, it's not.
Mikel Arteta is the most careful man I've ever met in terms of sort of putting praise on players and those sorts of things. He compares him to Lionel Messi. That is crazy. And I think, if we're not at the door of Max Daumann era, we're rapidly approaching it. Before we move on from that. Actually, and one final point on that, instead of replacing him in the aggregate, I do love that Marino was probably one of our most adventurous passers just in that skill in isolation sometimes, and I do need someone else to step up in that regard behind the ball, but that's a separate conversation. Before we move on from the transfer window, George, I'm just going to come to you quickly because I'm presuming you'll probably know, their addresses and dates of birth, etc. Arsenal have agreed deals for both Stoke City defender Jayden Dixon and St Mirren striker Evan Mooney. Any info on those? Just give us a quick rundown before we move on to the Chelsea game.
As far as Evan Mooney, I don't know the player, but one thing but I do want to highlight the work of Phil Cohen, who I've said consistently on the Cannon podcast is responsible for a lot of our sporting centers that we've actually developed in both Ireland and Scotland. And, he's responsible for this intake of Scottish and Irish talent that we've done. As far as there's this young player named Victor O, who's brilliant. I'm not even going to attempt the last name because it's crazy.
Please don't.
There's Mark Hamill. There's a lot of, not Mark Hamill, Callan Hamill. And there's Cheedak O'Neill, who has gone on to do really good work with our academy, scoring a lot of goals. And, it builds on that. Like, that's now the 4th player that we've recruited in the last 18 months from Ireland, Scotland. That's directly a result of us building a performance center and doing it. And I don't think Arsenal get the praise because we identified a gap. We built the gap. We're seeing the benefit of the gap, and it's been sustainable over like 18 months. So I want to praise that aspect. I don't know too much about Mooney, but that's the aspect I'd like to praise.
Yeah,
as far as Jayden Dixon, that is a player that I have watched. That is a player that has been a long-term target from what I've heard from people as well. He's been watched by Arsenal for a long time. Really modern defender, versatile, across the back line, has played pretty much everywhere. He's been used as a center back, but he's one of those hybrids on, a right back flexibility as well. Not quite the same quality, so people don't run away with it, but very Josh Acheampong in terms of the type of defender he is, like a really long-legged defender that's kind of better on the outside, super modern, mobile, has been able to provide some flexibility inside and midfield, left back, right back, center back, but really one of those kind of really tricky defenders out wide and finding solutions in build-up. Like, one of my favorite things with Josh Acheampong is that he's able to receive in wide areas and have a different build-up solution every single time. And, Jayden's got that little bit of flexibility, and he's really good about having that quick burst as well. Like, this is a guy that I think, I know actually Arsenal have been chasing for a while. It's really nice to get a target that you've been chasing for a while. He's a serious talent, one that Max knows quite well. Playing, in England U19s, really highly thought of, as far as the England setup. And this is a serious player that I really think is being built for the youth team. Like, it's in the Quintero and the Holger twin mold. Yeah. Like, it's not like a purchase that I think is just for the academy to build up cash, which I think is the minimum floor of a Jayden Dixon. Like, he will guarantee you cash in the future, but with the potential to seriously impact, the first team. And as far as an academy goes, like, we'll probably do a little bit of a spotlight pod down the line to really highlight him. But I will say, this is excellent recruitment. Like, I think that Arsenal have been extremely targeted in their youth recruitment as far as positions go. And you see it. You see it in terms of in the last 12 months, the types of players that we've been doing, whether it's Augustine and Duca, Cisse, Kieran Thompson, this Victor O, Mooney, this recruit here, with Jaden Dixon, there's been a lot of work done. If people care to look about how intentional we have done, and that comes from the work of James Ellis, who has gone back and really, had a look at all this stuff since Per's gone. And, we're seeing moves. We're seeing moves. I'm not here to say everything's perfect, but I do think from a recruitment standpoint, I know everyone's really upset from the first team level, but when I look at the academy, this was intentional. It was precise. And we've now got a right-hand side that is incredibly talented with Jaden Dixon, Marley Salmon, and Josiah King, who has been a phenomenal prospect for the U18. So those three represent an incredibly talented right-hand side core.
It's great. And I think there's, rumors about Ben White and so on and so forth. So, there may be something opening up there as well in the first team. So let's see. Yeah, it's great. It's also, I think, and I obviously know way less about the academy than a lot of other people, yourself included. But I think the targeting of certain positions is a thing that really sticks out to me to keep the U21s and the U19s competitive at that level, because that's so important. You can't just have no strikers at U21 level as we've had at certain points. So let's get on to the Chelsea game. Big game. Chelsea against Mr. LinkedIn. I don't know if you saw the
Mr. LinkedIn.
the clip of him celebrating the Enzo goal, but that man knows where the cameras are.
Oh my god,
he knows.
Media trained.
Jason Tyndall, eat your heart out, mate.
Oh.
He comes forward. The camera comes forward, and you see him. He's not looking. So a load of the Chelsea guys in the comments are going, well, "How could he see it?" He knows where.
He's quite likeable, though, I think, Rosinia.
He's. I was talking about this on another podcast. Sorry, it's cheating. He is part of this, and I do slightly blame Arteta for this. This slightly like 1% high performance podcast star over CEO type coaching of like just 1%. And his media likability, and go writing down in the coaching manual when you arrive, go around and shake everyone in the press room's hand. It's that sort of thing. But I like it. It's a level of attention to detail. I'm not saying I like a Chelsea manager. Actually, I did just say that. But it's a level of attention to detail and openness that I like personally in a manager. So I'm mocking it, but it's also probably quite good for Chelsea. Let's talk about the Carabao Cup game. Big one. I wanted to start with this. From something I saw this morning actually about Man City. So there was basically a table that showed all of the Premier League this season if we just played first halves. And Arsenal were 10 points behind Man City if we just played first halves. And I have a bit of a theory about this game, and reason I'm quite confident for it. I think Arsenal this season, when you ask them to impose themselves on a game, can come up a little bit stuck, can come up a little bit Man United first half hour. Playing well, doing okay, but like struggling to break the game down. It often comes from a set piece. And then we start to impose our game. Then we maybe went too far against Man United. But I wouldn't be surprised if we look back at the end of the season and, see more numbers like this of sort of, certain game states that we like. And I think we're going to like this game state. I think we're going to like being at home, not necessarily having to impose ourselves too much, asking Chelsea to get out against us, and then we can go and break them down. Rohan, I don't know if that sort of chimes with you, but that's it feels to me, it's set up with the 1-0. Chelsea need to win. They haven't got Esteval. It feels set up for me for this Arsenal team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I completely hear. I'm actually... The only frustration that I had in the Stamford Bridge game is... we should have killed that tie there. Right there, it should have been finished. The opportunities that we had, the moments, that was the only frustration, especially the amount of the goals that we conceded. But with a lead at the Emirates, at our home, I think it's a game that is very suited to us. It's one in which Chelsea are going to have to force the issue. And for someone like Victor Gyökeres, who I think is in a good moment at the moment, certainly his best moment since he's came to the club, I think this game is going to really suit him. When we're talking about a game in which the spaces are going to be more open, because I think also Rosinia is in this period in which he's also looking to kind of stamp his authority on the game as a Chelsea manager and showcase what he can do. If he'll be looking at it and thinking, this is a major opportunity for me to, go against the informed team one of the informed teams in Europe this season, and put a marker down, especially at the Emirates. Obviously we lost recently to Man United at home, but our record at the Emirates is phenomenal. So yeah, I think for me it's more of a case of I think it's going to suit certain individuals more as opposed to perhaps maybe the collective. And that's what I'm looking at. We'll probably talk about it in terms of starting 11s, but someone like a Gyökeres, someone like an Eze as well, who I hope gets an opportunity in this game. I think it could be really favourable for them. Because the first game, I think there was a lot of onus in which the game was played a lot in Chelsea's build-up. And it was Arsenal baiting them into playing these passes into the middle of the park, and Declan Rice is there, very much like predominant 23-24 Declan Rice. You're just standing in between two players and saying, go on, play it here, play it into one of these guys. And if you don't play it with the precision, I'm going to nip in front. We're going to create a really dangerous opportunity. And the only frustration, like I said, is we should have killed the game there. But I think it's a different game now, and it's one in which it will become a little bit more transitional in terms of what we can do from a creativity standpoint. I think this is going to be a game in which you're going to see Arsenal play through the middle a lot because the game is going to provoke something of that kind.
I think so. And I think we'll learn from, how many times they found their players in the pockets in that first game. Yeah. I think that's not going to happen again. The fact that we let Garnacho score 2 goals is just, it makes me sick.
Did you see he lost the ball like 50 times in the first 20 minutes against West Ham as well? God,
makes me sick. George, sort of more towards this, because I know we've spoken about this before, the sort of the scope of this game and what this game could do. I wouldn't hide it. Rohan and I were on pods, I remember certainly, and I might have said it on this podcast as well. The Carabao Cup, to me, it's at least a debate whether you take it seriously for Arsenal this season. It was at least a conversation. 6 games in the middle of a season when you're trying to win the big ones, etc. But for me, we're now at a point where it's kind of must win. I think this, I don't want to go too far. Could this unravel last season? I don't think it's going to unravel last season. But I do think it had the opportunity, as we've spoken about before, to sort of make or break certainly a little period at least. This feels massive to me.
I've been really strong on it. I've wanted us to win it. And I've said this idea that Arsenal and this squad hasn't been able to win a trophy is what is the last intangible that's really affected this squad. Like we talk about what's the reason, for example, that in moments Arsenal's technical level seemed to drop. There isn't a really consistent pattern that I would say to our play in which that provokes those things. But I do think that we sometimes do struggle to control our emotions a bit at times. And this lack of a trophy, and in fact, I've always spun it, the gaining of a trophy in what it will do is more the issue. We haven't won a trophy in so long, so this doesn't really add much more to that, unfortunately. It's just, adding into the years of this squad having not won. But having this squad win in the middle of trying to prove you guys are the ones is massive. Why did Man United spark such the debate that it did? When you really isolate it, why? Well, a lot of it had to do with, is this Roosters coming home to roost in a sense? Is this part 2.0, 3.0 of what everybody has seen Arsenal do? And no matter what we've done as far as the consistency in the league, no matter what we've done as far as our Big Six record the year before, no matter what we've done in terms of our record against physical mid-blocks, every single time we produce a record, there is always, but it's Arsenal, mate. And there is a part of me that sits there and thinks, when you've got a collection and a group of players that simply haven't won it, it's going to play into your mind. And, I think the way that Saliba is speaking, the way that Declan Rice has spoke, as far as the next 4 months, if you want to make a legacy, go and take it. I could not agree more with. And, personally, I have always been gung-ho on Carabao. And I think losing it does impact you. I think it does hit you as far as a squad that hasn't won. When you're talking about a Man City or a Liverpool, I side a little bit more with you, Alex, when they're those sides that it's like, okay, either you bun it off completely or you win it when you get to the semis. Like I'm more in that camp when you're talking about a squad that has won, because for me, the impact of winning, it's nice, but it's not something completely new. I think we all forget that first year with Arteta, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't really think anybody's there. That's back bar, maybe Saka.
Yeah, but he was on the bench for the final.
But he was on the bench. So this squad has not won, just simply at this point. So that's the biggest intangible for me.
I think so. And I think also This team needs to win something, but also the nerves point. I was asked this earlier about like, do I think this team is nervous? I was like, well, probably a year. I mean, you boys know me. Probably a year ago, I'd have gone, well, you don't know. Like, how can we tell? Focus on the stuff that we can tell, right? I think they have been. 100%. And the reason I say that is because you said it earlier, George. The technical level has just dropped off in some periods of games, randomly, and I haven't known any other explanation other than they were nervous. The post United, 100%. Once we scored that goal, we were like, right. Now we're good again. We're good again. We're actually good, and the pressure was on. And the final thing is Arteta's comments pre-Kairat. I was like, right, this has been a nervous team, because he doesn't say, and he does the reframing of we've taken a moment and we've sort of had a moment in the season. It's going to be beautiful and all that courage. He's saying we had a moment where basically, and I know for a fact from my hashtag sources, he was fuming with them after the United game. And so there was probably a moment. I think, did they have 2 days off after that or something? There was something around then. They had some days off. And they probably came back, had a conversation, went, right, we're playing with too much on this. We just need to play our game. And I do think they have been nervous. Rohan, I don't want to show you around this.
No, so this is what I said post-Man United. So when I rewatched the game back, and I've been jotting this down. Every single rewatch, I always have a little notes on my iPhone, and I've put it down, and it's been since Chelsea away at the Bridge. It goes all the way back to the 1-1 in that game where we had the man advantage with the Caicedo red. And I noticed it in that game in which the team's technical level, and when we talk about the technical level, it's about winning loose balls, second balls, and playing simple passes. It dies. It just dies. I'm thinking, okay, maybe that's a one-off. Then it happened against Aston Villa in the second half. Could not control that game after we'd scored the equaliser. Then it happened against Liverpool in the entire second half. It happened against Man United when Bruno scored that goal. Mbeumo scored that goal, sorry. And it happened all the way until Dorgu scored his goal, before we then started to get a little bit more of a foothold in the game again after they went in front. And there's other examples in which it just drops off so drastically. And this is where, when we look at Arsenal's problems, and during that 3-game dreaded cluster of poor results, and we're always trying to look for little bits, the fullbacks, going inside and whatnot, which, I think there's certainly a debate that you can have there. But for me, that is all secondary to a team that can't play a simple 10-yard pass. And Gabriel was guilty of this time. And what happens after that? If you give the ball away there, the opposition has it. They can allow themselves to get into the shape that they wanted to build out. Then it becomes a game which we need to win the ball back. And then when we win it back, we just hit it long into no man's land, and we're in the same sort of predicament. So that for me has been, and I've been trying to quantify that. And I don't think anybody can be profoundly confident on isolating it to one thing, but I think there's a number of things you could look at, potentially fatigue. But the other one that I was looking at is maybe they are nervous. Yeah. Maybe they are feeling it. So,
and by the way, fairs, like, you have to manage it, and you have to work out a way through it. I'm not making excuses to sort of allow it to overtake you, because you have to work out a way of doing it. But fairs, for a lot of these guys, Saka has lived through 3. Failed. You could look at were we ready in 2020, whatever. The failed for whatever reasons title races. Declan Rice has lived through, what's that, 2 now for him? He wasn't there in 22-23. Yeah. Saliba and Gabriel have been there for all 3. Like, a lot of the main guys have been there for a lot of these. So completely fair. When that goal goes in from Mbeumo, when that goal goes in from Dorgu, you're going, oh no. The fans are thinking it, so of course they're thinking it. So I think it's fair. And I think, just to return to to Chelsea, I feel like, George, this team can play with anger and their backs against the wall, and I think they can play with nerves, and I think we've seen that. I don't know if I've seen this team play with much joy. It feels like, and this is like my vow to myself at the minute, is to try and enjoy this season, like, just to try and enjoy it, like, even if it goes wrong, because I've literally spent that my word of this season has been anxiety. And maybe I'm overlaying that, but I don't think I am. And I want this team to find some joy in their play, and I think a trophy win could spark that.
Mate, what do we say? No excuses. That was the name of the game of every single pod this season. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sorry.
And after 8 signings in the summer, everyone's going, well,
yeah.
What are you going to say?
And look, for me, like, I'm the type of person that wants to embrace that stress, and not to be analogy king, but back when I was trying to finish my school, and I was looking towards my thesis. This is something that I've been prepared for like 6 or 7 years. And, I had mock presentations for a while, but there came the time in which I finally booked my final defense. It wasn't guaranteed. I sat there and I was bricking it, to put it lightly. Not because I didn't know my stuff, not because I hadn't been preparing this for 6 or 7 years, because of what if. You don't know. You can't control that part. And, sitting there trying to convince myself that I am knowledgeable and I am expert in the field I'm supposed to defend, to be an expert about. It was all about confidence, not about the knowledge. You ask me, without this, I could sit there and talk to you for hours on an elevator about it. But when I was in the room and I'm seeing at the screen and your evaluation point is there, you gotta step up and ultimately do it. And it's about calming yourself to do the things that And it's more about controlling your emotions than it is about any skill, any advice that you're going to be given in the moment. And it ultimately falls on you. And I think that, this no excuses camp is why I've always felt like we simply have to win the Carabao Cup. Because for me, it's more, you take a mock-up of the things that we can do to take this team forward and to stop it. And what gives it confidence? The only thing that can do it is simply getting it over the line. And I don't care how minuscule it is, the fans will do it. I may have a little bit of an opposite theory to you guys. And I do think the fans have a bigger part to play here than I think I'm willing to admit. I know we had done a Rate My Take a little bit about the impact of fans, but the nervous energy in this fan base about the trophies, in my opinion, has leaked to the team at times. It has shown it has an impact. And, I don't think that the players can ignore the no excuses camp. And so for me, I've been really debating, because 9 times out of 10, I'm with you guys as far as Chelsea need a goal, sit back, counter. That's logical. But then I've thought, how often has the Emirates been okay with that? How often has the team in recent memory, even though we are missing some people in the time, but how often have we sat back and held? And of course, there's the caveat where the last 2 to 3 months when we did do that, we were missing Gabriel. We were missing some defensive cores. So obviously that would impact, right, with Hincapié starting and et cetera, et cetera. There's caveats to why. But I'm just wondering, is that the best idea with even post beautiful courage talk? And it may not be logical because you're sitting there thinking, well, Chelsea will want you to come out. But there is a part of me that puts more truth to the fact of take the game to them, get the crowd in too excited when you are at home. Now, that's dangerous. You can get countered. I understand all those things. But I also think Arsenal sitting back with this expectation is dangerous. Not because I don't trust the players, but I think the expectation, and to me, we need to minimize the occasion as much as we already can. These players know the importance. They're facing Chelsea, for God's sakes. I don't have to tell them how important of a game this is. I don't have to tell them that this is the second leg of the Carabao Cup. I need them to forget that it's the second leg of the Carabao Cup. I need them to understand it's about focusing on you and controlling your emotions. Ignore the advice. Just do your PhD thesis, and it's about the material. It's not about the occasion. It's not about that final test. So I don't know. I'm in that camp slightly.
Vintage Roots has analysis work there. I think this season, to me, throughout the whole season, I've been waiting for I think I've said it before, this kind of lift off thing.
The takeoff, yeah.
The takeoff moment. And I don't think we're going to get it. And I don't think we're going to get it. I don't think it's going to happen. Because I don't think you can build up consistency in this league. I was looking through Man City's results earlier. It's draw, loss, win, win, draw, win, loss, win, win, draw. That's Man City, the machine. Look at their results. No one is building up any kind of consistency in this league. But maybe to find that place in ourselves where we go at least a few moments where we're playing with that joy. The Spurs game, the 4-1, the Bayern, a few more moments we find that joy. And maybe this is an opportunity, this Chelsea game, to because we're at home, we're 1-up, we've got a beautiful moment to play for a final, as Arteta would probably put it. There is something in that. I feel we're probably going to go our usual route of try and soak it up a little bit, but Rohan, maybe there is another world where we just try and bulldoze them. I don't know. I'd love that. I would love that. Just don't think we can do it.
Possibly. I think this is going to be very much not the same, but your Arteta Pep clashes in the Premier League really cagey. There's nothing really in it. It's about, compactness. It's about not giving them an inch, not giving them any sort of superiority. And when we have the ball, there's going to, again, just naturally in terms of, I think this game generally might be a little bit similar to Newcastle at Stamford, at St James's Park, with the intention that Chelsea are going to play with. They're going to press man to man. They're going to go very aggressive. They're going to be on the halfway line, the entire back line. And then it's about, us playing through that pressure, but also at times going long and then hitting that space. And I think you could see a really entertaining game in that aspect, because I think it will certainly suit certain individuals, like I've alluded to in terms of Gyökeres and Eze, who I think will start this game. I'd imagine so. But just to kind of add on to that point about George in terms of the nervousness in the ground, and maybe we might not see that nervousness though in a potential final, because they've not been in a final, right? When we've looked at the Premier League since we became very good, 22-23. That same journey, that same cycle, we've got to play this game, got to play that game, spats, and so on, every single season. And it's really repetitive. But a final's not repetitive. It's a new experience for this team, isn't it? Yeah. So maybe they could take it a completely different way.
And I also feel this team, in one-off moments, we don't crumble. We crumble slowly. Whenever we've lost something, it's happened over a period of time. I like, maybe apart from the PSG game or something, apart from that, I can't remember a moment where I go like, oh my god, this is maybe the City game at the end of 22-23, but that was already heading downhill. I don't think this team is scarred by one-offs. I think this team is scarred by the feeling that a season's sliding, and so hopefully this can be a moment that
And this is a feeling that's, we're kind of assuming, we go through against Chelsea, which I do believe we will. But that feeling of a final, like I said, they've not experienced it. They just don't know what it feels like. They don't know what it feels like to be at Wembley. And that could be a good and bad thing. And just quickly, in terms of the nervousness in the ground, and I can feel it, when I was there against Liverpool. And it's like, it's 0-0 and David Raya's on the ball and we're looking to bait them to press onto us. And then we can play a little wall pass here and there, and then Saliba can break through. The fans do not buy into that when the game is in the context of what it is, where we're not winning. It's the same against Man United. And it's like the fans think, just go long. And then Arsenal thinking, well, if we go long, the ball might just go back to us and we've got to now defend. Doing it this way, and it's very methodical, and it's all about the patterns and being able to break through. But that can be really slow, before you can work that advantage. And then the fans are thinking we're wasting time here. We're just playing it around. So I feel like if we can get over the line with a trophy, I think that nervousness may not be as profound. But
it's a big one. It is a big one, and also the finals on the 22nd of March, which means that if we get into it, we've got sort of a month and a half to kind of, well, firstly prepare for it, but also to have that on the horizon, which I think is a good thing for us to have that sort of promise sort of relatively soon. Before you take questions and move on to the Leeds game, chat about that briefly. Any thoughts on this? Where are we? It's one game and another game. I never speak about referees. I respect their job massively, but they have to pay attention to these things. He's kicked the leg. It's so clear. I know we won too much and the people don't want us to win, but the referee has to be neutral. For me, honestly, it's not fair.
You didn't do it right in terms of the kick the leg. You should have watched him. He goes, he's kicked the leg. He just stares at them. He's kicked the leg. Get out of here, man. Honestly, I can't stand that guy. The cheek of that guy. I'll tell you what I did. I was thinking, is that who I think it is? I had to do one of these.
So you had to put the...
Is that who I think it is? Mr. Final Boss of tactical fouls. And gets away with it every single time. Literally, it's like Fernandinho passed the baton to Rodri. It's like, in a relay race. It's like Rodri's now that he's the one finishing it off, and Fernandinho, he's passed it on to him. And this guy, the cheek of it. Get out of here.
You know that Sam Allardyce clip where he goes, "We can't take it, can we? Out tacticked him." Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Keep crying. Leeds 4-0. 4-0. Rohan, you've been writing on your Substack, so you've got some.
Oh, I've rewatched it, and Leeds.
Bore us with some tactics. Go on.
But we went to Leeds, and that's what they do there, isn't it? It's like, where are you going? It's like Leeds.
Don't they go, Leeds, aren't we? Or Leeds, aren't we? Isn't that their song?
I've no idea, but it's like.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, though, not gonna lie, boys. I know about you. I was dreading this game the entire week. I was stressed about this game. I was thinking we could slip up here. Leeds, the way that we dealt with them needs to be spoken about a lot more, because that ground and what they've been doing, I think since late November, December, they've been one of the informed teams in terms of, picking up results against good teams. You're talking about against Liverpool at Anfield, getting a draw there, coming back from 2 goals at Elland Road against Liverpool as well. I remember when they played against Man City as well in the second half, where they were 2-0 down and they brought it back to 2-2, absolutely smashed them.
Beat Fulham, beat Palace, drew with Liverpool, beat Chelsea. Yeah, not bad. Literally.
And we conceded nothing in the entire game. That is ridiculous. And I do think that, I think there were some minor adjustments that we made in terms of, like, not anything drastic, but Mikel spoke about, Kai Havertz's inclusion in the midfield. And I think he was speaking about how we needed to kind of, control the environment, bring the temperature down. And someone like Kai Havertz in midfield nominally certainly helped us there. But also what we did in this game is when Leeds were building out, Leeds are never going to play short in this game. They're always going to hit it long to Calvert-Lewin. He was going to be the reference point. He's one of the best in the league in terms of being a nuisance, and it's about picking up the second ball. And what was interesting is, again, we press man-to-man, but it's Zubimendi higher and Kai Havertz higher on the pivot when Noni Madueke jumps onto the left centre-back. Usually, when it's the 2 players in midfield who jump high, you're thinking Declan Rice. Declan Rice is always there because he's going to force a turnover potentially for us. But they're never going to play short. They're going to go long. So we kept Declan Rice a bit deeper. He was man marking Statch, whatever his name is, in the middle of the park.
Big boy.
And yeah, he's a big boy. And then it was all about, Gabriel and Saliba, how they could handle Calvert-Lewin, but also in that area just in front of them, having someone like Declan Rice there really helped us. But also Kai Havertz not being the person who is pressing onto the left centre back and actually sitting on Ampadu, it meant that naturally, if Kai Havertz is, closer towards Declan Rice and closer towards the back line, he's going to have a greater chance of being able to win the second ball. And I felt we managed that really well. And then it's all about, what we were able to do with the set pieces in particular and the second phase. So, but yeah, I felt the team, actually, I don't know, about you, George, but I felt like there's a lot of similarities in terms of the situations we created against Forest. The difference was in this game is we scored them. Against Forest, we didn't, so...
There's a bit of that. I think, the midfield change was important for what I think Leeds were going to do. This was something that I think everybody could have predicted would have been a basketball game. Like this idea that Leeds were going to press off the front and we were going to go a little bit vertical. I could predict that game being a little bit of that. And to me, the fact that Declan Rice was a little bit deeper and Zubimendi a bit higher... Look, I don't think that these things are ultimately the reason we lose games, but it's tweaks like this and balances that I do think play a part. And, the reason that a lot of our second ball was really competent was because of that switch. And, having somebody like Declan Rice a little bit deeper to deal with those balls coming back to us and having a little bit of, in my opinion, one of his best build-up games that has quietly gone on. I mean, when you have a look at Declan Rice, it's not often that he's the one receiving off the center backs turning. Like he does it situationally, but Zubimendi has been the main driver of that. And, Saliba has been pressing forward. And I just thought that, Declan Rice came in and was really secure, really offering himself as a solution. And he was really responsible for me for taking that onus and controlling that narrative. And it allowed us to build our game. And then it was up to us to kind of execute those things and, finish some of the chances that we had and those half chances. But it all came from an idea of Leeds were going to go long. It was going to be a basketball game. We needed an athlete to control the ends of that basketball game and get us started. And we did. And I do think on top of it, some people that needed output and some goals did it. And, it was really important that the person that came in Madueke was able to have a good game. When we do deal with like our, Bukayo Saka coming out, like that's a really important thing. I think a lot of the nerves aspect, I was more looking at it, if we could control the basketball game and not make it that way or deal with it equally and stand up to that test, it would be fine. Because in a one-off or in a gunfight, I outpace us against Leeds all the time. But if we let them play their game, that could have been an issue, right? And especially at Elland Road. So to me, yeah, I sympathize with that. I think the tweak as far as Declan Rice being a bit deeper and Zubimendi higher really helped push that balance point and let us stand in a really strong foundation. And it was really nice to see Calafiori back in the last 15 minutes. Like, I think that was huge, especially off the back of his quite rusty performance previously. Like, I looked at that and I thought, God, it was only 10, 15 minutes, but some of the stuff that he was doing as far as creating space in his underlaps and stuff, look, no one wants to say it because, the Maverick being a fullback is something that's a stick to beat Arteta with. But, like, he genuinely has. He's been one of our most important players this season. And, you talk about Declan Rice being your player of the season. I'm with you. But, I think Calafiori and Trossard are up there as far as being... There's a few that have really been... And he's one of them. He has genuinely added the fluidity that a lot of us asked for the left-hand side to have. And he's really responsible for it. So, I think he'll be important today.
Before we move on to questions, I want to talk Noni Madueke a little bit because you both discussed him. His goal's now been awarded to him, which is great, by the Premier League goal panel, which must be a fun Monday morning meeting.
Fun job.
I think it's called an Is it an Olympico? What were you going to say?
Yeah, no. I was saying, surely he would have taken like 2 minutes. The ball's going in. I was thinking, why is
it called an Olympico where you score from a corner? I'm pretty sure it is, isn't it?
I think
scored direct from a corner. I think it's called an Olympico. Anyway,
I thought it was called Olympic, but you might be right actually.
Yeah. Look, I have a bit of a theory about Madueke's performance in this game. I was watching a comp back last night, and I wonder whether the circumstances of him being in the team slightly helped him. I felt for a little while about Madueke that it's sort of predictable. He's becoming a little bit predictable in some senses, and I felt that game for me. There was stepovers, there was back heels, there was early decisions, there was late decisions, there was variety to where he was entering the box, there was variety to whether he was taking his man on or passing and moving and stuff. It felt like a bag of tricks. And I wonder whether, and this is possibly a reach, but it's sort of a working theory. It feels like when players come in, and we always talk about, Pep and players needing a year to adapt to whatever. And I do think it's funny that people would never say that about an Arteta player, but they'd expect him to compete with Pep. Anyway, different conversation. But obviously there's a bit of a learning curve. Every single player comes in and says, I've got a lot on my plate. I'm taking a lot of information. I think the first half of this year, there's been a lot of information on it. And I've felt like he's thinking. But his best aspects for me, whenever he's played for Chelsea, or the best parts for Arsenal, is that unpredictability. If you can create a more unpredictable player, which I think he showed against Leeds, if you can add that with the deliveries that he was showing, which were, on the day, and again, I'm not comparing to Saka with the consistency level, because that's really the impressive part about Saka. The fact that you can do that once is really cool, but can you do it every single week, which Saka can do? But he showed a level of delivery that Bukayo Saka can do, which is really nice. Okay, can we get that every week? Lovely. I'm seeing something, and I think something about the way he came into the match. Maybe he wasn't overloaded with, the information about the fullback. Maybe he wasn't overloaded with the out of possession stuff. Maybe he wasn't he wasn't given that information, and it was right. Noni, go out there, show us what you can do, and he kind of did. And I like that, Rohan. I don't know if that chimes with you at all.
Well, me and George, we've had a long discussion about Noni Madueke on TCP Live, and also another player that I don't want to get into because it will probably come across too harsh now. But I was getting.
Gapier.
Yeah.
Oh yes, your agenda. Yeah, I remember.
So I was saying to George, and it was on the back of the Kairat game, and that game for me was the point in which I'm like, okay, right, enough of the fun now. I need some more. I need some more output. Because for me, mate, like I was looking at Noni Madueke, and I think, it's a disrespect to just look at him as, he's just managing Saka's minutes, and saying, he's doing a job because that was his role. But that's actually disrespecting the type of player that he is and the caliber and the level that he can reach. I think we should be demanding more for a player who did cost 52 million at the end of the day. Yeah. And this is someone who is not new to the Premier League. Obviously, as you've alluded to in terms of the information that you have to process and the different environment at Arsenal. But for me, I was looking at him and thinking, you've had a lot of games in which you've been threatening, but then the final product is just so off the standard, And even in this game, I remember before he did manage to get a beautiful cross into the area for Zubimendi to meet, beats his fullback. It's just a nice, simple, delicate pass inside to Timber, and we've got a glorious opportunity, and it's like he just hits it so hard and the chance goes begging. It's those sorts of things that people have been frustrated by with Noni Madueke. But I think with this game, and the output. And I completely disagree with the idea of where, people, he played well and, he's not really going to phase him in terms of not getting output. Look at his response post-match there. He was begging for that goal. It's like, come on. They need the numbers. The output is currency for forward players. And I think for someone like Noni Madueke, with the money that we spent on him and the ability that he has, I want the consistency now in terms of that final ball, that final piece of quality, not rushing that action when it truly matters. And I think this might be a big stepping stone game for him, because we know what he can do, but we also want to know if he can do the thing that truly matters. And can you give us the final quality? So
he really is sort of I think the explosion is coming. You know what I mean? Yeah. In pause, but like it is, and the question is when, and the question is in what context, and can he do it, and whatever, and is it consistent and whatever. But I see so much in this player. I have to say, in terms of value and what we needed at this time, I'm looking at like the Semenyo deal, and I'm going, but we've got the player, and I like the player, and I think there's a lot to come from him. So I think there's a huge upside to Madueke, George. Before we go,
none of us doubt the talent, right? We all know how good he is, but it's a case of like, okay, we need to see the actual product. Exactly. Yeah.
Before we go to questions, George, any final thoughts on Chukwunonso Madueke?
The question has always been, how Gervinho is Gervinho going to be? And that was a question that we asked ourselves when we first had bought Gervinho. And it was, I see a bit of that in him, just fundamentally.
Is it the hairband?
No. Oh, God, I'm not going to get into that comparison. But it's more, this is a guy that I think has all the tools, has all the mentality, all the makings to be more of an impact than he is. And I think that he knows what he has to do to improve. We know what he has to do to improve. And I think he's also provided stuff to this team that, we thought he would and that this team lacked. And so it's all, I would actually say objectively, he's done better than, I thought he would as far as impact goes. But on the fee, I've always said that to me was like the only fee in the summer where it wasn't value necessarily. It was a bit of it's 52. Like it was one of those where it was like, I'll get it. And it wasn't exactly, every other deal seemed to be a bit about squeaking value. And so I was like, okay, we can afford that. We don't always have to be good accountant Arsenal. And, it works when you have somebody that's come in the league, that's got all those experience. So there's all the caveats behind how I understood why that fee got a little bit more than I would have paid. But it kind of, I'm always somebody that looks at performance. And I think she's been bubbling, look, I'm going to say it. The only thing is, if I was to compare, though, objectively, a player who has been underrated this season that I thought came into a lot of heat, it would be Martinelli. And if I'm being fair as far as overall output, I'm talking about two players that I felt like had come into the season who had the potential to challenge starters, but are bench players. And I'm looking at who's had more impact. And I think both players have had their moments, and I think they're doing their job as far as bench starters, I call them. Those guys that want to push your starters to go forward, and they're doing that. We're always going to ask more of these bench starters to become starters, right? And so it's more of that.
Yeah, I think on the Martinelli point specifically, the only pushback I'd have is the season. This isn't his first season at Arsenal, you know what I mean? And I understand maybe it's not completely fair on this year, because I think he actually has impacted the game, and I think he had a good game against Leeds. In different pockets, but people are bringing frustrations from previous seasons, which is valid. You know what I mean? It's like you can't just completely wipe everyone's memory. But I think with Madueke, there is a lot there, and I think the value, as you sort of allude to, maybe wasn't quite there. But I do quite strongly believe that within the next sort of 18 months, we're going to be having serious conversations about the right hand side, because I think he might force his way in.
I have a feeling this week is going to be a good week for him. We got Sunderland at home on Saturday, 3:00 kickoff, and then tonight. Good. I think he's going to. I think he's going to do something special tonight. I really do. I think the Chelsea boys have been a bit weird, actually. I remember when they scored that second goal, natural goal, and they just go straight to Madueke. Okay, freaks. Yeah, cool.
Let's come to your questions. A reminder that you can get priority access to these questions on Discord, which you can get access to if you're a member on YouTube memberships or on Patreon. And you can get a 7-day free trial on Patreon, so you could just get the Discord link that way. But yeah, I'm not going to say that. I did. Right, let's go to your questions on Discord. First one from Spanish Alex 85. Who would win in a cage fight between all three of you?
What does this entail, though? Are we doing just...
I've got the height advantage, I'm saying me.
You do not have the height advantage.
I literally do.
I don't have the height advantage.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm a tenacious person, and
yeah, George has got the pent up anger. That's the
yeah. I've done a little bit of rugby and I've done a little bit of martial arts, so I feel like I've got a little bit of that. I can take a hit vibe to it, but I don't have the height advantage. It's all heart.
The other top question I shan't read for various reasons. Let's go for people. A lot of people saying you, Rohan.
Are they?
People loving that, yeah. Here we go from Bear. What do you think changes this summer if we win silverware? Talking media narrative, transfer ambition, and style of play.
I think we're all going to be a lot happier, that's for sure. I think there's going to be less stress on the team. I actually do think this team is going to feel less stressful next season with silverware. I think it's kind of like it's like when you go back and look at Man City's first title charge under Pep Guardiola. Actually, that first season where they finished top 4, but they had some batterings when they lost to Leicester 4-0 and Everton 4-0. And the fans were not happy, and there was a nervousness. There was a feeling of, can this methodology work? I think it's the same with the Arteta era right now. It's still a case of yes, we're good in this metric, this metric, this metric. It's sustainable over season after season after season, but we haven't won. So is the methodology really and truly able to get us over the line? I think once it gets us over the line, I feel there's going to be an element of freedom, a bit more relaxed type nature of it. I know that's not very tactical, but because I think it's difficult to know how Arsenal are going to play next season. But I think there's going to be less stress just around.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's obviously less sort of status anxiety and all those sorts of things as we kind of settle into it. Although there'll be another thing. Oh well, you haven't won 2 trophies in a row. There'll be another thing, so it's fine. But I think there'll be less status anxiety within the Arsenal fan base. The anxiety fan base, ironic. I also feel the kind of you've got to be at it every single day, 100% can't sustain for a manager's tenure, and that has felt like it's Arteta's MO just since the moment he's come in. It's every day you're at it 100%, and I wonder some of those players might just need to just sit back a little bit. I feel that so far what we've seen from Arteta since about summer 23 is he's anticipated where the league is headed, and I don't know where. I think he maybe went a little bit early potentially, but he's anticipated, and I don't know where the league goes next. I don't know whether we end up with these proper goal-scoring midfielders because the blocks are more compact than ever. I don't know if we end up with going back to proper old school number 9s, Calvert-Lewin's success in the league. I don't know if you go back to, I don't know. I don't know what you do, or whether you go to wing backs or something. But I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see Arteta shift towards the next evolution, because it feels like he's pretty hot. He has been certainly historically on the pulse of where this league is headed. I can't imagine the tactical advantage in the next iterations, the next 2 Premier Leagues are going to be get bigger and stronger than the other guy. That has been the thing for a little while now. You can't get bigger, and we're at signing Adama Traore level. That's what we're at now. So the next thing I think maybe the Cherkis of the world. That's maybe the invention. Maybe that's where you get your wins. I don't know.
I don't want to be doomer, but I'm gonna throw this.
He's gonna be.
No. I think, look, I completely agree with Rohan, and I don't think people realize how important a trophy is. Like, in all the basic contexts, I've been very trophy-driven this year, and it's why I want to win more than 1 trophy. And I think it's incredibly important. Mikel Arteta signed a contract in 2024 for 3 years. That puts us at 2027. I don't think people realize that he's got a year left. I think that Declan Rice, we've done brilliantly to sign off Bukayo Saka, Saliba. Declan Rice is the next one. that must be signed off. And we've done brilliant about getting our contracts, but those two go hand in hand for me. And those two go hand in hand with success. Those are the two, for some reason, call it, Hale End for me meant Saka would always be pulled here. And for some reason, even though he's not Hale End, I really push back. I thought Saliba was just an Arsenal fan from young. There was a personal connection to the fact that he stayed. And I've looked at it just ruthlessly. I mean, Mikel wants to win too. Like, I don't think the most meticulous man I know is gonna be happy with his journey if it doesn't end in silverware. Himself. Like, I think he puts the most pressure on himself more than anybody. And I think Declan Rice is somebody that values that. And so when I look at the next evolution of Arsenal, I think it's not only Mikel Arteta's most important contract, but it's the most important evolution for Arsenal. And, winning a trophy has a ton of consequences where Arsenal are back is where you can puff out with your chest and do it from a fan base perspective. We talked about Tonali a little bit earlier, or referenced him rather in the pod as far as his agents being offered. Guys, I'm telling you, when Arsenal win a trophy, the amount of the culture we carry globally, the global impact is insane. It is something that I also don't think that we remember, because the last time we've done it was so long ago. But when that happens, I just feel that in a doomer sense, it could go wrong and it could go very right. And, I'm very confident in a trophy being done, but I do think that there's a bit more sideline pressure within the club about the next steps, especially when you're starting to plan for the future. And I think that, Mikel's been here for a while, guys. Like, if there was a time post-Mikel or pre-Mikel, if we didn't win a trophy, I would be very worried. In that last year, I would be very worried with, Declan Rice having a 2+ option. Of course, that probably keeps him safe because he's effectively 3 years. But I look at what the impact of no trophy this season could do to the squad who feel ready more than any other season. The expectation as far as the broader media, everybody says we have to do it. We've said no excuses. And I do wonder if not being able to race the tax, like the damage that could do. So I think it's important. I don't worry about it, but I do think it's really important if we're not successful.
God, you are a doomer. That was a question about what happens if we win a trophy.
George, we're winning it. Don't worry, mate. We're winning it.
Oh, I'm not worried.
Yeah.
I just hope it's not clear. Like, I'm just saying, though, like, the idea of not pulling through, I can't dismiss it. And so, like, because I think even last pod, I said, I really think that the following year we're going to be just as consistent because I feel like we will win a trophy. But I'm saying the impact of not winning a trophy, I know it's hurt us in every other season. Truly, I think not doing it this season would have a reverb effect.
Yeah, no,
we haven't seen essentially.
I don't think anyone would disagree with that. But I think we're talking about the benefits of winning one, right? And I if we're worried that we win one and we can't quite sustain it, I don't know. I don't.
I think if we win it, we go on an era of dominance.
That's the next challenge, though, isn't it? That's the next challenge. It's like Sir Alex Ferguson always said it's all good and well winning it once, but winning it again in the following season is a whole different challenge. I mean, you look at Liverpool. I mean, when we talk about scrutiny, there's always going to be media scrutiny, and as you've alluded to, Alex, there's an angle that you can go with. The angle you could go with, it's about time they won it. About time they won it with this much expenditure and whatnot. But I think just in general, I think this Arsenal team, for them to really dominate this era, you've got to go again and again and again. And I think in terms of the methods, in terms of how it is, in terms of the way that Mikel does see the game, I think it screams sustainability. The only worry that I'd have, and I had the worry going into this season, it's like naturally players, I could think, you've been in previous title charges in 2 seasons, I'll say. I don't count that season with the injuries, the 2 previous seasons of that. Naturally, you're thinking to yourself, is this really going to get us over the line? Is that doubt creeping into their mind? Does that impact their performance? But you can see the players are completely bought into the idea. It's a case of whether can they then buy into the idea again and again and again and again. Mm-hmm. That's the only slight worry that I would have. But I don't worry about Mikel and what he can do. So
I think the intensity of the of our game model and of our kind of at it every day, and that I don't think can sustain. So we're going to need to find a slightly different way of doing it. But I also think the league is going to change. Like I really do. I think we're going to see more goals. We're going to see a different. The benefits and advantages. Everyone's like, the Premier League's over. So it will always return and change, and there'll be another cycle.
It's all ebbs and flows, mate.
It's ebbs and flows. It's ebbs and flows, and it will change. But I think Arteta will be alert to that. I think he's very aware.
And you'll get nuggets of information from the transfer links, right? You know, that's where you'll be able to understand, like, okay, it might be going down this path due to this player coming in. So
maybe it's wingbacks. Who knows? Nick says, Rohan, being as cute and adorable as you are, why are you so angry as of late? Do you need a hug, a kiss on the forehead? Warm regards, Nick.
So basically what I do is, after City drop points, I rally the troops and go, Arsenal, Arsenal, Arsenal. And I said a few things about Pep as well in there, which shall not be repeated here.
What did you say?
Nothing. I said he was a lovely, very polite gentleman. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just reading it now. That's funny. You don't say that. Reg, professional yapper. Whoever is reading, in your absolute best Jigsaw from Saw impression. I don't know what that is.
Hey?
Jigsaw from Saw.
A film.
Never seen Saw.
I want to play a game. I want to play a game. Is that any good? Next season starts. The bottom three teams have just been relegated, being Wolves, Burnley, and West Ham. Arsenal sign a player from each of the teams they are contractually obliged to. And they are contractually obliged to start at least 19 Premier League games. In these games, they have to play a minimum of 45 minutes and cannot be subbed until half time. Which player from each of the clubs do you sign?
Wolves, I would go for the young lad, Kone, I think, is it?
Mane. Mateus Mane.
Mateus Mane. Oh,
his first touch is lovely.
Yeah, that's easy. The Wolves got some decent players, actually. You know, they got
some. Not Angel Gomez.
Is that the United one?
What's the first name of Fernandez from West Ham?
Mateus, yeah.
So I would double Mateus, right?
Mateus.
I would do Mateus Fernandez from a West Ham perspective.
Not Mavropanos?
No.
Other one was Burnley, not Leeds. I'd go Burnley. Maxime Esteve from Burnley.
I think
I'm really blanking on Burnley. I don't
know. George, you would have Ugochukwu.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I would have Ugochukwu. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any of the others.
Esteve was one of the only players I've seen deal with Saka pretty convincingly in the bottom half.
What else do they have? Jaden Anthony? No, I wouldn't want Jaden Anthony. That's prime Burnley. That's the Burnley I know. Sam Vokes and Ashley Owens and Chris Wood.
I love that Florentino Luis is on loan at Burnley.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when he was at Benfica and they were talking about 100 mil for him and he's at Burnley on loan.
He had a whole lot of green on FBRF as well.
Oh, mate. All the green. That's what you're looking for. RIP FBRF. RIP. Carillion Cat says, chances we win the quadruple this season.
Right. Okay. Percentage-wise, what do you reckon?
Percentage of winning the quadruple. Okay. Let's do Prem first. Let's do Prem first.
98%.
98. Good lord. I'd go
90.
Oh God, good grief. I'd go 70, 75.
Really?
We've still got like nearly half the season to go.
Yeah, but like, I'm just looking at City, right? I'm looking at City, yeah.
Yeah, I don't fear them.
They have won one game in the Premier League of their last six.
I fear us. That's
I hear what you're saying. I hear that.
Prem and Carabao Cup double likelihood.
75.
Yeah, I'd go with that. I'd go about 75.
Because I've dropped a lot bigger because I think I could see a one-off City doers. I could see that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could see it. So
I'd go 70 because it's 2 games.
So you've gone from 75 to 70.
It's two games, realistically.
That's not too big of a drop-off, though, actually. So pretty confident. Yeah.
Relatively. Prem and Champs double.
77. I have felt like, I feel that we are, that the Champions League, our form has been unbelievable. I don't think people have clocked how dominant we've been in that competition. And for me, I said it. That was my hot take back in January. It was my I really feel that there's an opportunity. As much as I really want the Carabao Cup, I kind of fear it. Like, it's a one-off thing. I really feel that in European competitions, this team is incredible. It's very, very well set up.
That is confident. I was going to go like 30%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How? What did you say again? 70 what?
77, just above. I don't believe that the Carabao.
So you're saying more than 3 times out of 4, this Arsenal team will do what only, is it what 2 other teams have ever done?
Yeah. I have felt like, and that's why I said it in January, that this team, in terms of the Champions League, has been incredibly consistent. And I think that this league is going to be decided earlier than people think. I've maintained that. I just don't know if the Carabao Cup's going to be something that we do.
I think we might.
If
go
you
out
back
early in the
it,
Champions
tweet
League.
it.
Sure. I did it back in January. It was my hot take. I'll tweet it.
George will tweet it. I've dropped to like 30, maybe even less. I don't think.
Do you mind if I look down to do it right now?
No, yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Wait, your mentions are going to be.
My hot take is that Arsenal will win.
God, I wish I was as confident.
Mate, I'm like at 30%. I think maybe 20 actually. I don't think we'll win the Champions League.
Yeah, 15, 20. Prem and Champs double.
Thanks for my TED Talk.
Thanks for my TED. Do you mean thanks for coming to my TED Talk?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for coming.
Make sure you do the TED in capitals.
Oh, thank you. There you go.
Good Lord.
What about you, Alex? What did you say? You said
20, 15, something like that.
Yeah, man. Right.
Something like that. Prem and Champs, like, especially in this day and age. Leipzig did it.
Got no clutch Mourinho as well.
No Mourinho. Good Lord, George. Right, we will go to.
I just realised that this is coming out tomorrow, so it doesn't have this.
No. Hang on. Oh no, actually, no. You've gone harder. You've gone harder than the Premier League and Champions League double. You've said it will happen.
Yeah. What about the FA Cup? So we're now bringing the 4 together, no? Or?
Not my
quadruple.
Most confident of that one. Only because because of what I said. I think that we really have a chance at doing the major double, and that's going to take a lot out of the squad. So I have a feeling we'll have to waste an FA Cup along the line. Like between March and April, it's when they come at a really bad time. You're going to have to prioritize something. And I do think as people that have won it
what we're saying, quadruple percentage.
I mean, so far though, we've been playing
like
fallen.
5%.
Yeah, like 5. I mean, we're playing fallen Premier League giants. You know, the mid-table teams and lower half. We've got Wigan next. We already played Pompey, so
yeah,
Pompey play up, play up, Pompey. Let's do this question from Harvey Diamonds. Ideal Merino replacement longer term. Do you think the solution should come from within, Miles, Ethan, or dip into the market?
Long term Merino.
Well, are we talking like the U68 is not that? Like, what are we viewing Mikel Merino as? Like, I just don't view him as a 6'8", kind of similar to the convo that we had earlier in the pod. Like, he's like a third striker for me.
I don't think it's a case of replacing Merino like for like. I think it's a case of replacing
multiple.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so because replacing Merino could be also replaced by someone you sign across the forward line in general. You know, so
like Ethan Max plus a youth 8, like 6'8", like collectively they offer, you know, the versatility in different roles. I think it could come a little bit more to that. Personally, but he's one of our best finishers in the squad, guys. Like, I genuinely feel like there's an argument for which, you know, you get like a Krupi or something that use like your main ball striker, and he like the fact that his finishing is like what has really improved the squad. That's what I worry about, to be honest.
Final one from Dinny. How would your view of the project, the manager, and the players change if we reached every single final this season and lost all of them, including the Premier League, on the final day?
It's going to be some depressing long days and depressing pods. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't. Did you see there was that tweet where we could play like Man City like 5 times over like 4 weeks, you know, because we could play them in the Champions League. We've got to play them obviously at the Etihad in the Prem.
The ultimate demolition.
We could play them in the FA Cup as well, and got the Carabao Cup final maybe.
If we lost every single cup final and the Premier League on the final day, you would not catch me on a podcast for a couple of months.
Same. So who's gonna be here? Nobody.
I'll have to hold the fort.
George, just do it over time.
Oh God. God.
We're winning this Premier League, mate. Though
we'll get Forder on a live stream. Just go, mate. You you're just reading the comments like, I hate you guys. Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah.
Nah, it's not happening. I'm telling you, we're winning the Premier League, boys. We're winning the Premier League. Come on.
We're winning the double.
City are not beating Liverpool this weekend. They are not beat. I'm surprised that they managed to mess up against Spurs. I thought that was a given that they'd win that game. They ain't going to Anfield at 4:30 and getting something, right? So if Arsenal boys, if you're watching this, yeah, do not mess around on Saturday. Just win that game. You've Sunderland, 3 o'clock. Granit Xhaka has got a little boo-boo. He's actually fit to play, but he's saying, do you know what, boys? Go on. Do it for me. Win that game, and it'll be at least 8 points. Trust me. Probably 9, because I think Liverpool will do them. So, and 9 points, surely. 3-game swing? Come on.
How many games have we got left in the Premier League?
14.
14.
It's a lot of games, though.
In terms of Category A games, like really, like that's a big one. So we've got the game away at City.
Newcastle is right.
Yeah, they're awful away from home though.
We got Sunderland at home, Brentford away, Spurs away, Chelsea at home, Brighton away, Everton at home, Wolves away, Bournemouth at home, City away, Newcastle at home, Fulham at home, West Ham away, Burnley at home, Palace away.
Palace, Newcastle, and City are my banana skins. To be honest with you,
Newcastle at home.
No, I think Brighton might be a banana skin. Brighton away from home.
Is that away?
Yeah,
Brighton away.
Yeah. Brentford have got no Sharda. That's big. So,
mate, like we should be doing. We don't leave London except for 3 times for the remainder of the Premier League. Like it's huge.
I also have a bit of a thing at the minute about timing wise. In
terms of like when we play first vibes, or just...
no, not even necessarily. More like, well, yeah, that a little bit. That I think that's been useful. When we play teams, I feel like, remember last season? It felt like every single week, whoever Liverpool were playing, their best player was out. It's like it's just mysterious illness. I feel like we've got a bit lucky with that this season, and I could be wrong about that, but I want to look into it to see if it's got any legs. Because I feel like we've had a few of those where it's like, their best players are going to be Palmer, Sharda, you know what I mean? Spurs, I feel like Spurs had about 2 players when we played them. It's that sort of Liverpool thing where like you feel
but then again, equally like Man City, if you just look at the recent example with Spurs, I mean, it's the best time to play Spurs, isn't it? They've had about 50 players out. Do you know what I mean? So maybe it's because we don't focus on the other teams in terms of what players are out for them, for the opposition. So winning this league.
Winning the league, lads. We'll finish there. Thank you all for joining us on the Cannon Podcast. We'll be back for an instant reaction to that Chelsea game. George and I, we will be there. We will be there. Then I believe Rohan and James are doing a rewatch that will be out on Wednesday. Unless it's a stinker, in which case you might just not want to do it.
It's a stinker.
Got a new series and an announcement coming Thursday, which we're very excited about. Then we got instant reaction this weekend and something else. Scouted Friday? No, I'm in Madrid, so I can't. Sorry.
So no.
Thank you, Rohan.
Nice one.
Do you want to say what you thought was on your hat before the podcast?
I'll let people do the imagination.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, good sir.
Thank you so much for watching and listening, and thanks for keeping it Arsenal.
Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. This was one kind of queue the ladies thoroughly enjoyed.
Electrifying.